If it's Monday, how much longer can Ukraine hold on to the critical port city of Mariupol in the south as Russia readies a brutal assault in the east amid new attacks on Lviv in the west? We'll have the latest from the ground ahead. Plus, what the West needs to do now. I'll speak with a member of parliament in Lviv and the wife of an outspoken Putin critic who was thrown in jail. And later, the surge of migrants at the southern border hits levels not seen in nearly a generation as the Biden administration prepares for an even bigger surge when it lifts Trump-era restrictions next month. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Garrett Hake in for Chuck Todd. Right now, Ukrainian forces are trying desperately to maintain control of Mariupol in the south as we enter a new and potentially bloodier phase of this war. It appears Russian forces are closing.
If it's Tuesday, Russia's brutal new offensive in eastern Ukraine has begun. As President Zelensky vows to continue the fight, and President Biden huddles with U.S. allies. Plus, the president heads to New Hampshire as he faces yet a new set of political challenges here at home after a federal judge overturned his administration's mask mandate for millions of domestic travelers. And later, how Putin's war has prompted the worst global food crisis since World War II. And what one of the nation's top humanitarian foundations is attempting to do to fix it. That's ahead. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. Right now, President Biden is on his way, trying to continue trips to battleground states. Today, the important battleground state is New Hampshire. He's there to sell the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It's an official visit, not a political visit, but it's very similar. Iowa, North Carolina last week, New Hampshire this week. But the focus on his struggling domestic. If it's Wednesday, President Biden is expected to approve another round of military aid for Ukraine as he meets with his top Pentagon officials today. Russia's attacks are intensifying in the east, meanwhile. Plus, the White House punts on whether it will challenge a judge's ruling that overturned the CDC's mask mandate on public transportation. It leaves the public health and political communities basically in no man's land as the CDC wonders what power it has left. And has the cautious nature that helped Biden win the White House created a problem for him running the White House? We'll dig in what that could mean for U.S. policy and midterm politics. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. President Biden is set to meet this afternoon with his top military leaders. He'll be doing that at the White House. The meeting comes as the U.S. is expected to announce some additional military aid for Ukraine. Russia, of course, is ramping up its attacks in the east and the south. And as the White House... If it's Thursday, President Biden announces more military aid for Ukraine and plans to ask Congress for another round of emergency war funding as Zelensky looks to the west, desperate for even more arms. This as Russian forces intensify their attacks in the east. Putin claims success in the critical port city of Mariupol. But did the Kremlin declare victory prematurely? That's ahead. And check this out. A memo from the Bernie Sanders camp says he is not ruling out a run for president in 2024, depending on what the current president decides to do. What does that memo really mean? Why include the 2024 line? I'll be joined by the advisor who wrote it. That's ahead. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chuck Todd. With the war in Ukraine now in its 9th week, believe it or not, President Biden is once again sending hundreds of millions of dollars in military aid to Ukraine. The additional aid comes amid new questions about the war and efforts to end it. Is the U.S. doing enough to support Ukraine? Are we actually...
If it's Friday, despite Putin's claim of victory, the standoff continues in Mariupol as new satellite imagery appears to show mass grave sites near that besieged city. We'll speak to a top city official about the situation on the ground coming up. Plus, hear it for yourself. More audio and more fallout from House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy's phone call, revealing a conversation he had with former President Trump admitting he bore some responsibility for the January 6th insurrection. And on Earth Day, we expect to hear President Biden address the climate crisis this hour as much of his domestic and climate agenda remains stalled in Washington. We'll bring you those remarks live coming up. Welcome to Meet the Press Daily. I'm Chris Jansing in for Chuck Todd. Right now, new evidence of Russian war crimes, atrocities in Ukraine continuing to mount. New satellite images show what could be a mass grave about 12 miles east of Mariupol. Ukrainian officials say as many as 9